There's a moment at the beginning of Boogie Nights. The camera cranes down, glides across a neon-lit San Fernando Valley nightclub, weaves through dancers, producers, dreamers, predators. No cuts, no panic, no showing off, just control. And in 3 minutes, a 26-year-old filmmaker quietly announces, "Yeah, this is how you make a movie." Before the acclaim, before the Oscar nominations, before the myth, there was a young kid in the valley with a camcorder, obsessed with movies, convinced he could outwork everyone in the room. The turning point wasn't fame. It wasn't even a success. It was audacity. Paul Thomas Anderson, let's call him PTA, because that's what the business does when you've earned shorthand, made a short film called Cigarettes and Coffee. He screened it at Sundance.
It was good. It was good. I think they liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It looked beautiful.
The audience, they responded at the right spots, yeah. They laughed when they were supposed to laugh, and they kind of oohed and awed when they were supposed to ooh and ah, so I think they got it.
Yeah.
Did they? Yeah. I think so.
That short became Hard Eight.
What happened with Hard Eight that changed your life?
What's your name?
It was I was way too young to be given the keys to the car, I think.
How old were you?
23.
And what was the movie called originally?
Sydney.
And you wrote it because of why?
I wrote it because I had to, because it just came out.
And here's the thing. Studios tried to take it away from him. Recut it, rename it, sand it down.
What had happened was that they had made a cut of the cut of the movie, and they called it Hard Eight. They'd sort of taken it away from me. I eventually got a cut back, had my cut, which is the thing that was released ultimately.
Also, the director has a great technique, and that's showing us that little transactions, like insert shots, basically, or moves, really mean a lot to people who are desperate.
Yes.
But I said, so mine's called Sydney, and they said, well, ours is called Hard Eight. Well, eventually we'll go with yours, but we're going to call yours Hard Eight. And I said, no, you're not. And they said, we're going with ours, and it's called Hard Eight.
He makes tension out of somebody handing somebody something. And that I like, rather than, how do you think make things tense in most American movies? Blow it up or something like that.
It was the one battle in this entire massive battle that I had to fight to regain control of my movie that I lost. It was at the finish line.
Most young directors cave. PTA fought. That fight over pacing, tone, authorship, that's where everything changed. Because once you defend your rhythm, you never give it back. He grew up around the industry. His father, Ernie Anderson, was a television announcer, so PTA wasn't dazzled by Hollywood. He saw it as machinery.
You dropped out of school because all you wanted to do was to learn how to make movies.
Yeah. That seems to me the only way to go, I mean, film school was never an option. It seemed to me to be a waste of time and a waste of money, in all honesty, really. I mean, certainly I had a leg up in that I was born and bred in Los Angeles, where, to get a job on a film set is, just as easy as, I don't know.
As a teenager, he made a mockumentary about a fictional porn star called The Dirk Diggler Story, shot on VHS. Reckless, funny, too confident for its own good. But here's what mattered. Even then, he understood pacing.
There's a scary mentality, I think, in film schools. My small sort of dealing with them is something that's really terrifying. I walked into a film class and it was about screenwriting, and this guy, the opening line was, if you're here to write Terminator 2, just leave now. And I thought, well, that's terrible. There could be a kid in the corner there that wants to write Terminator 2. That's his vision. That's his movie. That's what he likes. Let him do it, And the mentality of film schools is we'll start out with, Potemkin. First day in class, here's Potemkin. Every kid in the class is going to just fall down. What do you do? It's like, they should do it backwards, Start with Terminator 2 and work backwards and sort of, and ease into this and sort of, trace the heritage, trace it back. Watch a Scorsese movie, which everyone sort of loves in the class and is very excited by, and trace back and go, okay, here's who he was riffing off of. Here's these patents that he has kind of built upon, and study it that way.
And by his mid-20s, He was ready to make the film that would define him.
17 filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson made a mock documentary about the life of a porn film star. 10 years and $15 million later, Anderson's project has become Boogie Nights.
It's a sad world. It's an isolated world in which the dreams of stardom nevertheless keep them going.
When Boogie Nights hit theaters, it felt dangerous. Not because of the subject matter, though that didn't hurt, but because of its control. PTA built an ensemble film that moved like symphonic music.
Casting.
Yeah. The best part. Casting and writing are kind of the same thing to me, you know? Because I write parts for actors that are my friends or actors that I don't know that I really want to work with.
But, you know, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, which probably has a lot to do with it. It's the capital of porn production, you know? So it always sort of surrounded me in a peripheral way, you know? I mean, it was never in my face, I was never in the industry, but... And, you know, I don't know, I think that I had a kind of sort of fascination with pornography, and sort of half of me was a sort of, you know, horny young man, you know what I mean? Another half was a sort of, you know, sort of little sociological kind of experiment. What the hell is this and what's going on?
That everybody's talking about. You have wanted to do this since you were how old?
Born.
The first act, seduction. The second act, celebration. The third act, collapse.
I want to fuck! It's my big dick! So everybody get ready fucking now!
Notice the pacing. He doesn't rush the rise. He luxuriates in it. Pool parties breathe. Dialogue overlaps. Characters reveal themselves not through exposition, but through behavior. Then the camera changes. The cuts tighten. The lighting grows harsher. By the time we reach Alfred Molina's firecracker scene, the movie feels like it's vibrating at a different frequency. That's not accidental. That's modulation. PTA understands something most directors never quite grasp. Pacing isn't speed. It's pressure.
I guess the only thing I can say is I'll promise to keep rocking and rolling, making better films.
After the maximalism of Boogie Nights and the operatic sprawl of Magnolia, PTA does something radical. He contracts. Punch Drunk Love is barely 90 minutes. No sprawling ensemble, no generational canvas, just one man unraveling.
His latest film is Punch Drunk Love. It has earned him the Best Director Award at this year's Cannes Film Festival and stars Sandler in what critics are calling the best performance of his career.
Barry Egan. And here's the trick. The movie moves like Barry's nervous system. The pacing is jagged, abrupt. Phone calls slam into scenes mid-thought.
I said calm down and shut the fuck up. What's the problem?
He doesn't slow scenes down for grandeur. He accelerates them into discomfort.
What the fuck is your problem? Fucking retard, Barry! God damn it!
Then, just when it feels unbearable, he gives us stillness. A quiet hallway, a soft confession, a simple, fragile love story. That's discipline. The film proves PTA can scale down without losing intensity.
It's about getting in tune. It's a love story, and it's just about getting in tune and finding your music, I think.
That's what it is? What would you add to that?
It's love. Becoming happy with yourself and comfortable with yourself and trying to lose some insecurities and growing up.
That he can take a performer like Adam Sandler, known almost exclusively for broad comedy, and build a character study around vulnerability and rage.
What inspired you to choose him for this particular role?
He made me laugh, really. He just makes me laugh.
But this is not a comedy in that sense, though, because it's a tragic character as well.
He's funny to me.
That's the job, is figuring out where you're at that moment, and you do that then, and then by the time it's over with, you want to go the other way.
Yeah, and it's trusting your instincts, you know?
It's always nice to come to the end of a movie. Great, I get to go be alone for a while now.
A decade later, he makes There Will Be Blood.
His latest is There Will Be Blood. He adapted it from Oil, Upton Sinclair's 1927 novel. It tells a rough and tumble tale of a wildcatter looking for oil, the big strike. David Denby of The New Yorker calls it an enthralling and powerfully eccentric American epic.
The film opens with nearly 15 minutes of silence. No dialogue. Just Daniel Plainview digging in the dirt, breaking his leg, dragging himself out of a hole. In Hollywood, that's considered suicidal pacing.
And I beat you.
He lets the image breathe, lets the audience lean forward. When Daniel Day-Lewis finally speaks, it lands like a hammer.
I have 2 others drilling, and I have 16 producing at
The film moves at the pace of extraction. Slow, grinding, inevitable. You feel the weight of ambition, because the movie makes you sit in it. That's genius. He aligns structure with theme. Oil doesn't gush instantly. It's drilled for, forced out, paid for in blood. The pacing becomes metaphor.
Say it louder. Say it louder. I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child!
The work becomes an end in itself, and I think that's also true of the, if you compare that fever to the fever of prospecting, that those guys that thought they knew what they were after, which is the vast mansion on the Pacific coast, by the time they had accumulated enough wealth to build that pyramid for themselves, the work was actually an end in itself. The fever was the thing that they lived for.
The process.
Yes, absolutely, regardless of who's a witness to it or to what extent you can display the rewards of that life.
But here's what separates PTA from the pack. He doesn't make movies to please the room. After the operatic scale of There Will Be Blood, he could have chased prestige epics forever. Instead, he makes the master. Abstract, divisive, alienating to some audiences. Then Inherent Vice, a shaggy, stoned noir that feels intentionally slippery. Critics debated. The audience was confused. Was he losing his grip? Or was he refusing to compromise his rhythm? This is where most filmmakers bend. PTA doubled down. Because genius isn't about consensus. It's about coherence. He trusts his pacing even when it costs him.
16 years later, the world had changed very little.
After 20 years of refining the screenplay, Anderson stitched together an action spy thriller that moves like a piston. Kinetic yet thoughtful. Entertaining yet deeply humanistic. Rather than retreat from spectacle, he embraced it, marrying pulse-pounding chase sequences with a father-daughter story at its core.
Say it. Say it, baby.
Love you, Bob.
The film hums, blending absurdist humor.
Well, maybe you should have studied the rebellion text a little harder.
No, you called me. Do you understand that?
Political undercurrents and emotional stakes. And the pacing never flags over its sprawling runtime.
Oh, gee. I think doors closed, the inquilinos are gone. If they knock, you know what to do.
Notice how effortlessly the film absorbs genre elements without ever losing its emotional centrality, letting story and character pull you forward even through the longest sequences. What makes One Battle After Another such a milestone isn't just ambition. It's the way Anderson trusts his voice across scale, tonally and rhythmically, affirming that cinema can be both exhilarating and profound without compromise.
There just should be no fear. I think that's, just always remember kind of being pummeled by fear early on and feeling like, God, if I could have just gotten rid of that fear earlier, this might have been a little bit easier. Just don't give a fuck. That's kind of the best thing to do.
From Boogie Nights to There Will Be Blood to One Battle After Another, the lesson is the same. Pacing isn't speed, it's control. Control of tone, control of performance, control of when to let the audience breathe and when to take the air out of the room. That's why his films don't feel assembled, they feel authored. And when a filmmaker can bend time to his will like that, Yeah, that's how you make a movie.